Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Mighty Number 9. In the last part we started off the game and did our first of the main Mighty Number stages, and now it's time for us to take care of some more of them, with a good hint on how to figure out which one to go after next.
We have lost contact with Mighty Number 4, Seismic. This mine was his last known location.
Whenever you beat a Mighty Number, the next one in the weakness sequence gets an advice button.
Battalion H.2, over. Can you read me? What is happening in this?
Some people don't like this feature. I don't mind it myself. I wouldn't mind actually if a mainline Mega Man game actually had this for, say, in easy mode, just as a way to hint to where to go next, but ultimately, it's harmless. You can go in the stages in the order still anyway. With that said, time for Seismic stage, which, man, the characters in this game sure are chatty, as this stage is a good example of.
The last signal we received from Mighty Number 4's transponder originated in that area.
Maybe he stopped transmitting because he stopped functioning. Do you think he might be...
Impossible. Nick is one of my most resilient designs. Proceed, Beck. With all due caution.
That's more like...
So this stage is a very good example for why Battalion's weapon is just arguably the best in the game, because its splash damage is ridiculous, it melts through enemy health bars so quickly, and gets rid of unique obstacles only it can.
Warning. Beck's transponder signal is losing strength. We may lose our communication link.
Which might explain why we lost Nick's signal as he went deeper inside. Carry on, Beck.
Roger that, Professor. That's more like...
This stage is also a good example to talk about what I meant with the Rexelection last time. I mapped it to a shortcut, so I believe for me pressing, I forget if it's triangle or circle, because I'm not actually playing, will just automatically jump me over to Battalion's weapon, even when I have all 8 weapons.
Huh? Whoa!
What happened? Come on.
Professor? Professor, can you read me?
Be careful of these drills. They are instant kill, but as long as you take your time around here, it's not too bad. In the case you don't have a power map to a shortcut, you can just scroll through a menu to get to them. Though I forget if you can do that while the game's paused or not, or at least if doing it the way I'm thinking of actually pauses the game. But now for another really cool thing this game actually does.
Take this, you pathetic pile of scrap. I've met toasters who were tougher than that.
Batt, what are you doing here?
Orders from the top brass, Private Beck. The professor himself sent me to provide cover fire.
I'll have to thank him. And you, Batt. Thanks.
So the advice button in the Rexelection isn't all defeating a Mighty Number does. They will now appear in the next stage in the weakness order to actively assist you in some form, usually coming down to either destroying a hazard to make a section easier or taking care of a bunch of enemies at once for you. I like this a lot, even if it's ultimately just to help you along the way, because it means that your order of operations actively matters more than just making a boss fight easier. And I like that idea a lot. If they ever made a Mega Man powered up 2 over at Capcom, I think using a version of this with the rescuing robot system powered up 1 had could be really interesting. We are currently being chased by an instant kill drill, and we need to get through these boxes as fast as we can. With Battalion's weapon, this isn't that bad. Without it, you're in for a rough time there, buddies.
3, 2, 1, burn! Ha! Hardly even worth the ammo. Forward now, Beck! Charge!
And he even helps you a second time. It's not just a one and done thing in the other stage. For now, though, it's time for us to reach Mighty Number 4, Seismic.
Nick! And still operational. Just as the professor predicted. You too? Then I'm sorry, Mick. I've got to take you down.
Mick can be a little rough without Battalion's weapon because it just shreds through his health. His main attacks are sending his drill arms out and across the entire screen, jumping down causing a shockwave which will cause rocks to fall down, that he can then dash through to try and do extra damage to you. As you get through the fight, he actually makes the arena smaller by adding more drills from the ceiling. But that actually makes the fight a little easier because it means that you have much more... He has less room to get around your explosions more accurately. With Beck's base weapon, this fight can be kind of rough, though, because if memory serves, his charge is invincible from the front.
Snap out of it! Now!
Beck? Why Beck come? It's dangerous here.
Mission clear.
Seismic stage can be kind of rough because of the amount of instant kill hazards around, so I don't recommend it for a first choice, but the boss fight isn't too bad, especially with his weakness. And now we get my least favorite reselection in the game. Although not for nothing, it's one of my favorite looking. Similarly to what Mega Man 11 would later do, every one of the reselections actually does redesign Beck in ways I find neat. In fact, I think Capcom themselves even said, like, yeah, we kind of just used that idea in 11 ourselves, because 11 partially happened because this game happened, because they saw the demand for it after that. Let's read up on what Seismic does, as soon as I stop fumbling about with the menu for some reason. Strong Charge. Hold down the attack button to change your lower half to caterpillar treads. Charging into enemies in this state will damage them. You can also trample enemies in mid-air. Smacking into destabilized enemies and end-stage objects will send them flying. Launched objects can act as projectiles. Knocking into other objects, on the other hand, you won't be able to absorb them. Some objects cannot be launched. XL shoot effects. Increased attack, including launched objects. Less energy use. You charge forward. It is a kind of fast way of moving. And I think you get more damage and speed as you go forward, but I just don't like using it. It's like the top spin, it's a little too unwieldy for me, and in most cases its damage isn't too worth it. For now, though, it's time for us to head to the highway.
We have reports of automated vehicle malfunctions on the highway. Mighty number 7, Brandish, spotted.
Yeah, it's Mick. I got eyes on Brand, but getting through these nutso cars ain't easy. This could turn into a 50-car pileup any minute. Hate to ask, but I could use some help.
This was, I think, the stage I beat first on my first run,
All set, then?
and honestly, it's not a bad choice.
System ready? Go!
Brand!
I'm warning you, Beck. Stay away.
Brand, wait! I'm going after him, Professor!
Affirmative, Beck. Just be sure to mind your step traversing those vehicles. Something about Mighty Number 7's voice. Could he be...
So in some ways, this stage is kind of similar to the train stages from Mega Man 02, in that we're going along a highway and there's signs coming towards you, so you need to watch out for them. There's also going to be sections of this stage that are auto-scroller, but thankfully it's not too bad. What's kind of funny is there's actual advertisements in the background that are sometimes shout-outs to people who promoted the Kickstarter and all that, to the point where there's just outright... Well, actually, there he is right there. There's Aaron Hansen. There's Game Grumps. So let's go over some more Vice Actor trivia real quick, like. So Mick is voiced by Fred Tatasciore, who's been in voice acting for a while. I know him most probably as Kyohei, the character from Judgment, the Yakuza spinoff, I guess Like a Dragon spinoff. He's Soldier 76, for those who care about that. But the biggest thing he's been overall, he has been like the voice actor for the Incredible Hulk in basically anything that's not a celebrity voice actor the past like 20 years.
Beck, I'm going on ahead so I can clear a path for you.
Here we go.
And there he goes. He'll actively save you some grief in this stage by removing some very minor hazards and sections. Although I do like the set piece of how his works a lot, considering he's rolling on the road next to us. I think that's just neat. By the way, Brandish is voiced by J.P. Karliak, who's been in various scattered Marvel animated properties the past 10 or so years. But he's probably best known, albeit for potentially the wrong reason, given what the dub itself is. He was Fuyutsuki in the Netflix dub of Evangelion, which I think had some solid performances in it, with a really bad script.
Beck, you're heading into a tunnel. It might affect visibility. Be careful.
Ironically enough, the tunnel actually makes things a little easier to see, because while it's a little darker, it makes it less bit-ratey because of the rain. Again, I briefly mentioned this last time. The way this entire LP was recorded was I decided to do what I called a recording stream, where I was streaming the game and just not capturing my actual mic during it to test out recording games live. And on the whole, this worked out pretty well. There's some framiness here and there, like right there, I think I saw some drops. But part of that is just on the game itself, because this game doesn't exactly run the best on basically anything, PC, console, or otherwise. To the point where there's one streamer I follow who gets pretty consistent drops down to 0 frames per second doing a very specific thing on a very specific screen in the final level. And I think I theoretically could have replicated that myself. Going over my own personal history of the game, though, I didn't back the game, although I wanted to, but I'm grateful I didn't in retrospect, because the more time that passed before the game released, and the early demos and the previews they showed, the more I was like, oh, uh-oh. Like, there are people who back this game for several $100 plus upwards of $1,000 in some cases. I got the game for like $6 at a Walmart.
Warning, erratic movement detected in several nearby robot-controlled vehicles.
That one's gonna be trouble. I'll stop it. Out of the way!
It has been so long since I played this stage without fighting Seismic first that I actually don't remember what that thing does. I think it's an explosive that you have to get around or something like that. Maybe it blocks the view in this section. I can't quite remember. Either way, now we're in an auto-scroller, which takes a while, yes, but it's not exactly strict because of Beck's movement to begin with. As long as you're good about keeping an eye on where enemies are going to be ahead of you, don't worry too much. This does have one extra wrinkle we're going to start seeing in a second, though.
I told you, stay away!
Now Brandish will show up and destroy some of the cars that you're using as platforms. Thankfully, they're all visually empty, so clearly no one's dying in this. So before you rush onto the next car you see, take a moment to make sure that Brand isn't going to show up and just wreck its shit, because otherwise you're going to fall onto the pavement, and that's an instant kill. Thankfully, they don't get too carried away trying to mob you with enemies during this. Otherwise, this could be a real pain. Also, I forgot I could do that. You can actually dash downwards to the ground at any point in time by pressing, I think it's down in the dash button, to either solidify your footing on a platform that you know is below you or something like that. It's honestly a pretty helpful platforming tool that I wish other games had, without just being an outright ground pound. A quick way to get back to ground is always nice to have. Now, if only the game did more to, use it.
Brand. Is he trying to resist the malfunction? But he's not like Beck.
Time for Brand's fight.
Why, Beck? Why won't you give up?
I'm here to help. I've come to save you, Brand.
No closer! One more step, and my blades will have their way with you!
Brand, tell me what's happening.
I can't control myself. If you want to save me, you must destroy me!
Brand can be a bit of a very fast-paced fight because of his tendency to move quickly using essentially Zero's sword attacks from the Mega Man Zero games. He can kick downwards, he can do the circle spin, he can do a sword combo. Towards the later part of his health, he'll actively start doing the slashes he used to destroy the cars in the previous platforming segment. And at that point, it sort of acts like the Cat and Anna assist trophy from some of the Smash Brothers games, where he'll show up and do the slash, but it'll take a second before it takes effect in that section, so if you get out of the way of the blue streak, you'll be completely fine. This is the only fight where using Seismic's Rexelection really feels good.
Come on! Snap out of it! Now!
Beck, I thank you.
Mission clear.
That stage and boss aren't too bad, even without the weakness, though. Yeah, if you're not a fan of auto-scrollers, it can be a little tedious, but not too bad. And for doing this, we get the second best Rexelection in the game. Brandish's is just kind of absurd. To the point where there's parts of it I'm convinced were unintentional that they just left in.
blast! I see no pattern whatsoever. What in Tyson's name is behind this?
Target normalization confirmed. Transferring data now, Professor White.
Just a moment. Sonda, has Call been functioning normally this entire time?
Well, she was shut down for a firmware update when everything went all screwy. It seems like any bots that were powered off at the moment this all started are fine.
Shut down, you say? Wait. No, it couldn't be. Or could it be?
You got a theory, Will? Does it also explain why Beck wasn't affected?
You rang, Dr. Sonda? Where am I off to next?
Oh, Beck. Yes, just a moment. Let's continue this later, Will, and no trailing off into a next time. Yeah.
Something about that voice line feels like they forgot to cut off where it's supposed to end properly.
Choose your next target.
So, Brandish's ability is when I actually forget to read the bio up, but it should just be on a shortcut the rest of the game. It gives Beck, instead of a Buster, essentially Zero Saber. You can charge it to kind of counter enemies and have a giant area of effect around you, but it's best just for mashing the button and killing anything in your path really quickly.
Mighty number 3, Dynatron, was spotted at this facility. We suspect she may attempt to siphon its power.
Professor, I have infiltrated the power plant. My blades hunger waiting only to be unleashed. The lighting here is unstable. I am no stranger to darkness, but Beck should be wary.
This stage can be rough, but it's from one section more than any of the others. Also, a very weird thing about Brandish's Rexelection, if you mash hard enough, projectiles will just pass right through you. That's what feels unintentional about it.
Sacre bleu! What happened to the lights? I'm scared! Mommy! Mommy!
Relax, Dr. Sonda. It's a temporary blackout caused by the erratic power supply. It may also trigger irregularities in other robots on site. Proceed with due caution, Beck.
So through that, you can see just how ridiculous Brandish's ability is for combat. Most enemies of normal size will go down in 1 to 2 slashes, which is way fewer shots than to take with Beck's normal Buster. I'd argue Brandish is the tool you should have active for most of the game from here on, including even some boss fights that aren't technically weak to it, because it can just melt through health bars that quickly. With that said, Dynatron's level is the usual electric type 1. There's going to be some electric type hazards that are kind of high in damage. There's some levels that are technically darkness platforming, but it's not actually dark enough to the point where it feels like it's hard to see anything, or you really need to go to stop and go pace.
Ah, Beck! You forge ahead that way. Fate has us in store for my blades and I. That's more like it.
Also, fun fact about Brandish, he was actively designed to be a bit of a brother character for Beck, which is why he's red, has sunglasses, and wears a yellow scarf. Where have I heard that before? I can't quite place what.
Sonda, get a hold of yourself. What are you... I see. He's locked inside. Beck, destroy all robots in the area. You'll need their energy to unlock the door.
What is also especially good about Brandish's ability is that it actively reaches lower than Beck's normal Buster does, so if there's an enemy like those little spiders, you can take it out no problem.
All fall before my blade. Onward, Beck! Onward!
It's one of the few times they actually let one of those cutscenes, like, pause if you don't progress fast enough. Again, I really like some of the ideas this game brings to the table, but the way they're implemented always just feels like 15 degrees off of where it should be, and like 2 or 3 revisions away from what should be a finished product. Now for the hellscape. We got giant turbines. They are instant kill, hence the pink. And while they don't start off that bad, they start placing these in such ways where the instant kill factor for them becomes a little more dangerous. Not just because they're in, like, giant pits like that one technically was, but there's gonna be times now where you need to slide under them. What's rough about these turbines is that their hitboxes are beyond hard to figure out. Because it's not just where the turbines are that kills you, they'll kill you even a little further out than that. So you need to kind of just tiptoe up to them and just kind of test your limits until you find the sweet spot to do a duck dash beneath them. And this is actually where they teach you what a duck dash is if you didn't pay too much attention during the first tutorial for them earlier. Just gotta get a little closer. Like, any further than this would kill me. Oh god, it's ungodly uncomfortable. I hate that stage. I hate this section. I argue that's one of the worst sections in the game done. Like, it's that and like one or two other platforming sections I just don't like. In a way of like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I don't like a lot of the platforming in this game because it doesn't quite feel right on the satisfaction level.
I mean, it's a good thing I'm not afraid of the dark. At all.
Silence! How am I supposed to enjoy my meal with you screaming in my ear?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just... wait. Number 3? You're the one behind these power outages.
That's right, genius. Oh, this delicious energy! Who can resist?
That's Jan Johns voicing Dynatron, by the way, who hasn't been in much. Dynatron's her most notable character outside of Lucy West from Fallout 3.
Yes! The power! So much delicious power! Oh! It's intoxicating! I feel dizzy! Whee!
Dyna?
So it's you! You've come for my power? You want to take it from me? Well, we'll just see about that!
Brandish's ability just kind of melts Dyna's health bar as long as you're good about mashing and timing your dashes correctly. She'll float about the screen in a couple of patterns, give herself an electric shield you need to actively destroy the parts of to get rid of, and shoot electricity out in a few ways, but if you're just mashing the hell with Brandish, you probably will never actually get to see her actually do much of an attack. Without the weakness, this fight's a lot harder.
Come on! Snap out of it! Now!
Beck, you saved me!
Mission clear.
As much as I don't like the stage, at least the boss, if you have her weakness, is not going to be a problem whatsoever. With that said, we get my second least favorite power in the game from her. It's only useful in a couple of places. We'll read its bio next time. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 3, we're going to go after a couple more mighty numbers. But before I end off, I mentioned I streamed this game live when I recorded it. Let's take a look at what happened during my first practice run of that level. Where'd she go? I think I broke it. We did it, Patrick! We saved the city! Wait. Her health went down just then. Right? I didn't just see that. Okay, one of two things is happening. Either the games were... Ooh, I'm playing a horror game. Killer. That got me an A rank still.